Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. In today's episode, I want to talk about a blog post I came across today. This blog post is about the difference between parse and extract. And I find this blog post very interesting. It definitely brings clarity to a concept that most people do not differentiate as clearly as they should, because parsing and extraction are two very essential and often applied techniques in data processing, especially in LLM applications. So let's review this blog post together, and let's see what we'll find out. And just to tell you the conclusion first. So basically, extraction build on top of a parsing, and so though you will need those two operations together, very very likely. Okay, so let's dive into the blog post. So this is a blog post from Llama Index, and so I will post a link to this blog in the show notes. Okay, so here the author clearly talked about those two concepts, and saying that people don't really know the difference, and so they are often used interchangeably, but they are different. So the distinction the author points out are parsing transforms documents into formats optimized for AI consumption. So of course we are in the context of a AI application, and then extraction puts specific predefined data points into structured outputs. So that's a difference. Let's see see these differences with some examples. Okay. All right. So example is that, for example, converts various formats into text or markdown, and you want to preserve document structures like headings, paragraphs, tables, and lists. So basically, for parsing, you are transforming the format of the documentation, right? So convert a web page into Markdown, convert PDF into Markdown, convert Word documents into Markdown. So that is parsing. And in this transformation, your goal is to preserve the useful, relevant part of the original doc. So for example, when you try to parse website, you probably want to discard the headers and footers. You only want to keep the meat of the web page. So that's parsing. So parsing just changes the format but keep the relevant stuff. Let's look at the extraction. So extraction is a process of identifying and pulling specific pieces of information from the documents based on predefined schema and patterns. All right. So when you do extraction, you want to identify specific fields you define. Dates, amounts, names, addresses, right? For example, in a news article, you might want to address who are mentioned, or what are the names of the people mentioned, maybe names of the companies mentioned, and so on and so forth, right? So, and you only want to through extraction, you only want to return the requested information, not anything that's outside your predefined schema, right? And of course, there could be potential validations, right? And etc. So extraction is very I think is a step that you take to feed database APIs and other business workflows, right? So that's extraction. Okay. So now I think at this point, the difference between those two are very clear. They are very clear. So from now on, hopefully you are not going to use those two words interchangeably. So you know the difference. Okay. But then the question is when to parse. When should you parse? Okay. So parse is when you, for example, you want to build a search, you want to build Q&A systems. So of course, RAG, that's a use case you can think of. You want to preserve the raw content as much as possible, although you are transforming them into a format that is more conceivable by the machine or by the large language model. So this is the situation. So those are the scenarios you want to use parsing. And then, so then question, so when should you extract, right? So again, so when you want to populate a database, CRMs, ERPs, and other systems. Here's the example. So invoice number, vendor date, due date, total amount. So this possibly is a parsing of an invoice, right? So like for business automation, you might want to parse, applicants, their name, maybe the school they graduated from, so on and so forth. So those are some example scenarios where you need to do extraction. Okay. And I think the biggest part that I think that made people use those two words interchangeably is that extraction don't replace parsing. It builds on top of it. Therefore, those two are often together, right? So when you do extraction, inherently you have to parse the document first, because when a document is parsed first, your system can better extract information out of the intermediate document, right? So extraction is on top of like parsing. Okay, so I believe actually the author mentions that in LlamaCloud, which is a product that they have, their extraction service, this one, Llama Extract, it actually runs Llama Parse in the background first to do the parsing and then apply logics to do the extraction. Okay, so this is a real world example to tell you the relationship between those two. Okay, so clearly you see here they define a schema, and then they do the extraction from invoice.pdf. Okay, all right. So I think this document, that's the end of this blog. Short and sweet, but it definitely bring clarity to two concepts that's often kind of a mixed together. And I think when we can clarify, when we have a clearer understanding of those critical concepts, it can help us to think about the problems and the solutions better. Okay, thank you for tuning in, and see you in the next episode.